Well, first of all, I'm really bummed out because I've been looking forward to this game for weeks, right? Yeah. Last time I was on, we talked about this game as being a chance to really gauge where this Nets team is at. So I'm curious to see what the Nets are going to look like without Kevin Durant. And I think everybody looks at his offense, right? You look at these two guys, you think offense, right? You think jump shooting. I think Kevin Durant's defense is going to be the thing that might be missed the most during this stretch.
It's back to what it was before the injury, it looks like.
He's been a really dominant force for them at the defensive end. He's one of two players on the team averaging more than a block per game. Outside of Nick Claxton, who's been really, really good, they don't have a lot of bulk inside. Kevin Durant, obviously at 7 feet with huge wingspan, can make up for a lot of that. The Nets are going to have to play a lot better defense than they have been with him out. That's what I want to see what they look like tonight against a really good offensive team, obviously, in the Celtics.
As I've been saying, since the injury, he's been a willing defender, but not that great. But then this year, back to being a great defender, which he was right. You know, he worked his way to that right before the injury. But look, Kyrie, I got to watch some NBA during our little hiatus, right? Kyrie, when your eyeballs are on him, it's hard to imagine there's a better player than that in the NBA. Like, he has been just as spectacular as KD to me, Tim. If these two teams play a 7-game series right now, and KD were healthy and Kyrie stayed playing like that, who wins in how many games?
Boston in 5 or 6 games. I don't think these teams are dramatically different than they were last year when the Celtics swept. You could say the Nets are playing a little bit better. I think the Celtics are arguably a little bit better. I don't think Boston sweeps that series again, but I think that they win the series pretty comfortably.
Who's the best player in the series?
I mean, I think as of today, I would say Kevin Durant.
Who's the second best player in the series?
Jason Tatum.
You sure Tatum is better than Kyrie? The Kyrie that we've seen in the last month.
I would take both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown over Kyrie Irving.
In the last month, this Kyrie?
Yep.
I would not. But you know better than I. Do you see the Nets being a serious contender to win the title this season?
I don't, for the same reason I just said, right? I don't see them as a team that can win a playoff series against the Boston Celtics. I don't think they can win a series against the Milwaukee Bucks. These guys are both great. They have a lot of weaknesses outside of these two guys. They have no size inside. They don't have a lot of athletic defenders on their team. You know, they've done a great job over this past month or so, getting back up to the top of the East, winning this huge stretch of games that they've won. They've won a lot of them close against a fairly easy schedule. They have to play the elite teams in the East. I just don't see them getting through 3 rounds of the playoffs.
The 2 best offensive games of all time at their size, right? Like at KD's size is the best overall offensive game ever. It's pretty clear. And same thing with Kyrie. I know Steph shoots it better, but like Kyrie's got the best both of them on the same team. I'm going to give you one more chance to get on board with this. Doesn't that give them a puncher's chance?
I just don't think they're in the top 2 or 3 teams in the East, so I'm not going to say they're a legitimate title contender.
The Nets, you reported, Kevin Durant, he's going to be out for a month. But what is their approach going to be over that next month without him?
Well, Malika, let's start with the NBA trade deadline. That's about a month away right now. And I think Brooklyn, like a lot of other contenders out there in both conferences, see a marketplace right now, that is much more of a seller's than a buyer's market. Just not enough teams, have really made the decision that they're going to be sellers, that they're out of it for the play-in or the playoffs. And usually that happens closer, to that February 9th deadline. I think Brooklyn's going to be active. I think they're going to look to upgrade. And I think as Richard said, particularly in the front court. But what the Nets get to do now is evaluate their roster without Kevin Durant, who has been such a dominant force for them. You mentioned Kyrie Irving, certainly him leading the way now with this team. But TJ Warren was brought in, to be able to be a really productive offensive player. He gets that opportunity now. Seth Curry, Joe Harris. And so now for Brooklyn, they have some time to see how these players play before they have to make some decisions, probably closer to the trade deadline on deals.
Woj, thank you. It seems like the Nets are going to be relying now on their depth. That's what we're looking at. But they have to also be able to rely on Kyrie Irving. What are you expecting out of him?
Listen, Sean Marks elevated his game, right? When you talk about the addition of T.J. Warren, getting Royce O'Neal in the offseason, also adding Ben Simmons to the equation, okay? Jock Vaughn, he's elevated his game. We see how this team is playing on both ends of the floor. It's time for Kyrie Irving to do the same thing. Kyrie Irving, can you do what Kevin Durant did when you were out last year? You along with James Harden in the MVP conversation. Like, this has been the question mark on Kyrie his entire career since he was drafted with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Can he lead a team and get wins as the top dog without another superstar alongside of him? So, look, we ain't asking for a full size. We just asking for a sample size. We just asking for an appetizer. We talking about a month to 45 days. Can you get wins and get your numbers and be a leader on the floor? You have enough talent around you.
And speaking of those numbers, he absolutely should be able to be impactful because right now he's averaging, 26, 5 and 5. And one thing that I noticed, I think Kevin talked about, post-Thanksgiving numbers. Post-Thanksgiving, I think he's led the league or is top in the category of fourth quarter scoring. So when it comes to winning time, that's the guy that a lot of us would pick to say we want him to have the final shot.
Right.
So I think when you're thinking about the ball games, you want to be in contention towards the end and then give Kyrie a chance to win. And we've already seen what he's been able to do so far this season.
Right.
He's in that position.
Richard has had an up-close view of what he's able to do late in games when it matters the most. But the numbers that we just saw on your screen, the numbers for Kyrie Irving with Kevin Durant on the floor, with Kevin Durant off the floor, they're actually pretty similar. It's whether or not they can get that to translate to wins, Perk.
And that's the important thing. It's all about winning.
Right.
Like, when you think about superstars and you think about putting those guys in that elite conversation, they're carrying their team and it's resulting into W.
Right, and right now, the Nets still, they sit second in.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports. It's that time again, January the 12th, 2023. Brooklyn Nets taking on Boston Celtics tonight without Kevin Durant. Boston Celtics are number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They are at 30 wins, and the Brooklyn Nets are at 27. So who wins tonight? Because they're out without KD, right? And Boston Celtics, they're pretty much got everyone, I'm pretty sure. And a lot of people are already betting on Boston Celtics to win this game. I've seen stranger things, right? Like, you know what I mean? Warriors got blown out by the Phoenix Suns when Phoenix Suns had nobody. So anything can happen, but this is the Boston Celtics, right? Boston Celtics are phenomenal, but Brooklyn Nets are too. And Brooklyn Nets are playing at a phenomenal level, but that was with KD. Now you're without KD. So what happens tonight? Kyrie Irving has to step up, completely step up. He has to show people that he's the man. And Ben Simmons, he's got to do something, right? Like, I get he's afraid to shoot and whatnot kind of thing. He takes less shots. But the fact that remains is he is he was a prime defender in his day. I know he's still coming off the back surgery and he's still working on his conditioning and stuff like that. But what he can do, what others can't do, is his court vision, his assists. So they got to figure this thing out. They got to get this win. Brooklyn Nets. Speaking of which, Woj pretty much said that the Brooklyn Nets are on the trade front and they are looking to upgrade their roster. One rumor is they were looking at John Collins from Atlanta Hawks. Now, they got to give up a lot to get him from Atlanta, because what I'm hearing is Atlanta wants the exact same package scenario that Rudy Gobert got, the Rudy Gobert trade, the Donovan Mitchell trade. If Atlanta thinks that, then that is a whole new level of thinking, because what has John Collins done for me lately, right? He doesn't move the needle, and quite frankly, I don't know if anyone in the world would pay that much for John Collins. He's a phenomenal player, but I don't know. So who can Brooklyn Nets move? Some people on the Brooklyn Nets organization think that Seth Curry, he has an expiring contract. Joe Harris, guys like that, they have to move in order to get a better. You're without KD for a month, so if that means that they're going to slip in the standings, then you look for Brooklyn Nets to make a move. If anything transpires, I'll let you guys know, but leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me who you might think that Brooklyn would trade and who's going to win tonight, Brooklyn or Boston Celtics. This is Jag from Jaggy Sports.